I broke up with the only man who ever made me feel safe because of one moment I can't prove meant anything. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I protected myself or destroyed the best thing I've ever had. I just broke up with my boyfriend, and I don't even know how to fully process it yet. I was diagnosed with BPD, borderline personality disorders, back in 2019, and since then, I've done everything I possibly could to understand myself better. Therapy, counseling, psychiatrists, support workers, you name it, I've probably tried it. It hasn't been easy, but I've put in the work. In 2023, I made one of the hardest decisions I've ever made and left my previous relationship so I could focus on myself. I stayed single for a year and a half. No distractions, no dating, just learning how to exist with my own thoughts, my own emotions, and trying to build something stable inside myself. So when I met him, it wasn't impulsive. We started as friends. It was slow, natural, safe. And over time, it turned into something more. We've been together for 9 months, and honestly, it felt perfect. Not in a fairy tale way, but in a way that felt calm, steady, and real. He knew about my BPD from the beginning. I didn't hide it. I told him how my mind works, how intense things can get, how sometimes I spiral and don't even understand why. And he didn't run. If anything, he met me with patience I didn't even know existed. When my thoughts got dark, he grounded me. When I felt overwhelmed, he brought this sense of calm that I've never experienced before in my life. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't unstable. It was peaceful. And that's what makes this hurt even more. We were long distance. Different counties, no cars, expensive taxis, long public transport routes, and both of us having young children. It just wasn't easy to see each other often. But in a strange way, that distance actually helped me. I tend to get attached really quickly, really intensely. The space forced me to slow down. It kept me from diving in headfirst without thinking. But the distance also hid something. There's a part of me he never really saw. He saw the calm version, the managed version. The one that could step back, think things through, and communicate, at least most of the time. But he didn't see what it's like when I'm physically there, when everything feels louder, heavier, harder to control. When things get bad for me, I don't explode outward. I disappear. I withdraw. I stop responding. I shut down completely because I don't trust what I might say or do if I stay present. And from his perspective, that wasn't unusual. I've always been someone who takes space. So when I faded from messages, it didn't raise alarms the way it might have if we lived closer. But recently, everything got worse. The last few months have been really hard. Not just for me, but for him too, individually, not as a couple. Life just hit us both at the same time. And I went into one of the worst episodes I've had in a long time. I pulled back. Not because I didn't care. Not because I didn't want to be there for him. But because I genuinely didn't know how. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to support him while I was barely holding myself together. And through all the therapy I've done, I've learned my patterns. I know that when I'm like this, I need space to regulate, to process, to not make things worse by reacting from a place of chaos. But knowing that doesn't make it easier. Because while I was trying to survive my own head, I was also becoming the kind of girlfriend I never wanted to be. Distant, unavailable, silent. And the guilt of that? It was unbearable. The last time I went through a phase like this, I told him how I felt. I told him I was scared of not being enough, of disappearing when he might need me. And he reassured me. He told me not to worry, that he was still there, that as long as I was okay and we were okay, he wasn't going anywhere. And I held on to that. It made me feel safe, or at least safer. But this time felt different. Something shifted. His energy wasn't the same. It wasn't as warm, as steady, as reassuring. And I don't know if that's real or if it's just my brain twisting things, but I could feel it. Every message felt heavier. Every silence felt louder. And I was stuck in this constant loop, wanting to reach out, needing to say something, but having absolutely no idea what words to use. Because anything I said felt wrong. Too much. Not enough. Dramatic. Dismissive. I didn't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, especially knowing I'm not in a stable place mentally. I couldn't trust my own thoughts, let alone my reactions. So I stayed quiet. And the longer I stayed quiet, the worse it got. The guilt built up. The overthinking got louder. The fear that I was hurting him, pushing him away, ruining something that meant so much to me. It all just kept growing. At some point, it stopped feeling like a relationship I could be present in. It started feeling like something I was failing at. And I couldn't shake the thought that maybe love isn't enough if I can't show up properly. Maybe he deserves someone who can be there consistently, not someone who disappears when things get hard. Maybe I'm not as ready as I thought I was. So I ended it. And that's what brings me to the other night. We'd barely spoken all day. Not in a dramatic argument kind of way, just quiet. Distant. Like we were both there, but not really there. When we finally did talk before bed, it was short. We both said we were tired, said goodnight, said we loved each other. It felt normal on the surface, but underneath it all, something already felt off. I went to sleep with that heavy feeling in my chest. When I woke up, I saw his message. He said he was exhausted because he'd walked a 4-mile round trip in the middle of the night to drop something off for a friend. She had called him crying after an argument with her boyfriend, and he went to help her. At first, I just stared at the message, trying to process it. Because here's the thing, I'm not typically a jealous or paranoid person. At least, not in the way people expect. I've worked really hard on that part of myself. I've learned to give people the benefit of the doubt, to not jump to conclusions, to not let my emotions immediately take over. I've met this friend before. I've known about her from the beginning. I even knew they had history, but I made peace with that. People can have pasts. People can still be friends with the opposite gender. I never wanted to be that person. The one who controls, questions everything, or creates problems where there aren't any. And, up until that moment, I truly believed I was okay with it. But something about this didn't sit right. It wasn't just one thing. It was all the little details stacking up in my head. Why did he walk 4 miles in the middle of the night when she can drive? Why did she call him, specifically, at that time of night? Out of everyone she knows, why him? And why did he even tell me? That last one kept circling in my mind, because part of me thought, maybe he told me to be honest, to be transparent. And I want to believe that. I really do. But another part of me couldn't ignore how it felt. He told me he was too tired to stay up, too tired to talk, needed to sleep before his daughter came back the next day. But he had enough energy to walk 4 miles at 1 a.m. for someone else. And that hit something in me. Not anger, not immediately. Just this quiet, uncomfortable feeling in my chest that I couldn't shake. And what scared me the most wasn't even the situation itself. It was how familiar the feeling was. Because in the past, this is exactly where things would spiral for me. I would have reacted instantly. I would have blown up his phone, demanded answers, made it into something huge. I would have asked him to cut her off, block her, prove something to me. And even if he did, it wouldn't have been enough. I would have still carried that doubt, that insecurity, that need for reassurance that never really gets satisfied. And then it turns into something worse. I become snappy, distant in a different way, checking his phone, questioning everything, creating this constant tension where neither of us can breathe. I've done that before, and I hate that version of me. So this time, I didn't react. I just sat with it. And honestly, that might have been even harder, because instead of letting it explode outward, it stayed inside my head. Every thought looping over and over again. Am I overthinking this? Is this actually weird? Or am I just in a bad place mentally? Am I projecting because I'm already struggling? Or is my gut trying to tell me something? I didn't know what to trust. This time, I did something different. I recognized the pattern. I recognized that the way I used to react, the spiraling, the arguments, the need for control, the constant checking and questioning, it wasn't healthy. Not for me, and definitely not for him. I couldn't put either of us through that again. And I couldn't be the person who forces someone to choose between me and a friend they've known longer than me. So, instead, I chose for him. Yesterday morning, I ended it, and now I can't stop thinking that I might have made the biggest mistake of my life. Because the truth is, I've been cheated on before. I've stayed in relationships where I was disrespected, lied to, and made to feel small. And even then, I didn't leave. I stayed. I tried to fix things. I convinced myself I could handle it. But this time, I left over something I don't even have proof of. Nothing actually happened. At least, not that I know of. But I know her. He lives in a small town, and I grew up there before I left for uni and work. I know the kind of girl she is. I know her reputation, the way she moves, the way she inserts herself into situations. And that knowledge has planted something in my head that I don't know how to get rid of. Because now all I can think is, what if it happens again? What if the next time she calls, he goes again? What if I'm sat there, miles away, while he's walking for miles at 1 a.m. for someone else? And what hurts the most is that he didn't make that effort to come and see me. That thought won't leave me alone. I did try to bring it up. I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. I just mentioned it. I told him she had started to feel like a threat to me. I was trying to be honest without being reactive. But he didn't meet me there. He sounded annoyed, dismissive, like it was an inconvenience that I even felt that way. He said he can't be arsed with her, like that should have been enough to settle everything. And then he moved on from the conversation as quickly as possible. And that was it. No reassurance. No explanation. No effort to really understand why it affected me the way it did. I wanted him to slow down, to explain properly, to help me feel safe again. But the interaction didn't do that. So I left. And now, I've woken up this morning hating myself. Because up until that moment, he had been the kindest person I've ever known. He was patient with me in ways no one else has ever been. He made me feel calm when my mind was chaos. He made me feel beautiful even on the days where I couldn't stand to look at myself. He made me feel like I was worth loving, even when I didn't believe it. I never saw myself getting married, not in any of my past relationships. But with him, I couldn't picture a future without him in it. And now he's gone. It's only been 9 months, but it felt like so much more than that. Through the distance, through my own insecurities, through everything going on in both of our lives, he made me feel like I was the only girl in the world. And I've thrown it all away. Over past trauma. Over fear. Over a nervous system that I don't think will ever be fully healed. Maybe I did the right thing. Maybe I protected both of us from something that would have turned toxic over time. Or maybe I've just ruined the best relationship I've ever had. Everything in me wants to call him, to apologize, to tell him I made a mistake, to beg him to come back. But I know myself. I know that if I go back without resolving this feeling, that thought, that doubt about her, will still be there. It won't disappear just because I want it to. And that's not fair on him. It's not fair on me either. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm constantly questioning things, where I'm waiting for something to go wrong, where I feel like I have to compete with someone else for basic reassurance. But at the same time, I can't shake the feeling that if there's truly nothing going on, he could have reassured me better. If the roles were reversed, I know I would have done everything I could to make my partner feel safe. I wouldn't have brushed it off with "don't worry." I would have taken the time to understand where they were coming from, even if I didn't agree with it. And maybe that's where it really broke. Not the situation itself, but how it was handled. I don't know. All I know is that I'm stuck between two outcomes that both hurt. Either I reach out, explain everything again, and hope he still loves me enough to try, knowing that there's already a crack in the trust that might never fully heal. Or I hear that his friendship with her matters more than what we had. And I don't know if I'm strong enough for either of those. So I'm here, waiting, hoping, even though I don't want to admit it, that he'll reach out first. That he'll say we can figure it out, that we can try again. But it's been silence. Complete silence. And maybe that's my answer. Still, if he did call, I know I'd pick up. If he wanted to try, I'd listen. Because no matter how much I'm trying to be logical about this, my heart is still very much his. To my love, I'm sorry. I miss you. I love you. Forever.